Hello and welcome or welcome back to the channel. We are the Perrin family. I am the mom of Anthony and Dulcie. I'm married to Joelle. My name is Nancy. It's on the screen. So I'm married to Joelle, and we have Anthony and Dulcie are our children, and we homeschool our children, which is the reason why I started this channel in the first place, was to share our homeschooling journey. Of course, just as our homeschool journey has taken many twists and turns, ups and downs, so has this channel. And so we share other things on this channel as well, such as our family life, day in the life vlogs. We sometimes when we travel, we share a little bit of our experiences. We haven't done that too much lately because most of our travel is done within our church, and so I did promise that I was going to keep the two things separate. It's going to keep ministry over on the ministry channel, and family life and homeschool and things like that over here. So that's why I haven't uploaded a whole lot of travel videos lately. But hopefully in the upcoming months, when we take some family trips, then I'll be able to share again as we travel. But today we're going to be talking about homeschool. We're going to be talking about what curriculum that we are currently using. And I'm also going to talk about some of the curriculum that we have used in the past and what worked, what didn't work. We've been homeschooling for 7 years. And so I have a little bit of experience under my belt now as a homeschool mom. And of course, I don't know everything that there is to know about homeschooling. I do not know everything there is to know about raising children. Raising children is very much a learning as you go process, which requires a lot of patience, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of communication, a lot of trust and faith. And for me as a Christian woman, it has required a lot of trusting in the Lord and asking of the Lord to help us to get through those tough times, right? Because life happens, whether you are a homeschooling parent or whether your children go to public school, private school, whether they're doing online instruction, charter school, whatever the case may be, life still happens. Just because you homeschool your children doesn't ensure in and of itself that your kids are receiving a good education. It does not ensure in and of itself that they feel secure in their education, or that you feel secure as a mom or a dad or a grandparent, aunt, uncle, legal guardian, whatever the case may be, in providing their education. There are so many times, where I have felt personally as a failure as a mom, and that may seem like a strong word, but there are days, y'all, when it seems like just everything in the world that could happen has happened, and I feel like I'm at my wit's end, and I don't know what to do, okay? And there's been times that we've had to step back, take a break. There's been times that we just had to immediately go into prayer as a family. There are times when we, had to change up our method of homeschooling, go back to, something that we used in the past, or maybe look for something different that is new to us. There's been times when we have switched to unschooling. I mean, we've done it all. We've done it all at this point. So, Dulcie is in 4th grade, and Anthony is in 6th grade. I may have said Joelle in the beginning, but we call him Anthony. We call him Joelle. Pretty sure I said Anthony in the beginning, but anyway, if I did say Joelle, then I'm sorry. Sometimes I do confuse our listeners by doing that, but we called him Joelle in the beginning of his life, and then recent years he wanted to be called Anthony, which is his first name. So either way. So yeah, Welcome in, Jesus for All. Thank you so much for being here. And anyone who's listening in the background, you are welcome here. Thank you so much for your presence in this live stream. And so let's get started. When my children were small, I took a very laid back approach to homeschooling when they were, 4, 5, and even 6 years old. So I did buy a few workbooks, from Dollar Tree or Walmart or even on eBay online, but overall, there was a very, very calm, laid back, relaxed atmosphere in our homeschool. And as they grew older and learned more, I honestly became more strict on them. I became harder on them. And I started pretty much imitating school at home, okay? So as you can imagine, like a classroom setting and the way that, you imagine that teachers at school are teaching the children, I started bringing that into our homeschool. And after a little while, we were burned out. We were burned out. And I realized, looking back, there were so many things, so many warning signs, so many telltale signs that it wasn't working, but yet we kept trying to make it work, even though we knew that it wasn't. So, and it's trial and error. Homeschooling is trial and error. Anything that you do with your children is going to be trial and error. Okay, so we do chalk it up to a learning experience now, but when we were doing that, it was frustrating. It was frustrating. I reached out to many of you on YouTube. I reached out to many of the other homeschooling moms that I had connected with on YouTube, and I couldn't get it through my head what I was doing wrong with my kids. I couldn't get it through my head. And, no one can tell you how to teach your children. No one can tell you how to raise your children. It is your responsibility. So it is my responsibility to make sure that everything's going the way it should go with my children. There's no right way. There's no wrong way to homeschool, okay? I'm not saying school at home is bad. I'm just saying that that isn't necessarily what worked for us, especially, as they started to get bigger. Now, to show them discipline, to show them, how to apply themselves to studying and learning and everything, probably in grades 2 and 3, probably a school at home approach would be okay for our children. But things happened, things progressed, and we went back and forth through different methods over the years. So 7 years of using different methods. But in the beginning, before I get too sidetracked, we used workbooks from Dollar Tree, workbooks from Walmart, eBay, things like that. Sometimes we just would write in the sand. When they first started doing their ABCs, when they first started learning how to write, it was just writing in the sand. There were no workbooks. There were no papers that, we had to complete or anything like that. But as far as math and things like that, we would use workbooks. For science and social studies, basically I would read from a textbook, but they didn't actually write anything in those beginning years. Now in 2nd, 3rd grade, then they did. And I can tell you some of the companies that, we bought books from. We really loved the Evan Moore books. They were really awesome, and I still highly recommend Evan Moore. We used Abeka in the very beginning in kindergarten, and so I can't really speak on Abeka as far as 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, anything like that. It was just kindergarten that we used that with Anthony, and I believe it was for his science, if I remember correctly. For math, once they got in 1st grade, I believe, we started using Horizons. Horizons comes from Alpha Omega Publications. It is amazing. Anything that you get from Alpha Omega Publications, in my humble opinion, is amazing. They're wonderful. They're a wonderful, amazing Christian company. And it may not be important to you to incorporate um, biblical teachings and with math and science and language arts and social studies. You may teach Bible separately from that, or you may not include Bible at all in your homeschool, even if you are a Christian. And I'm not telling you what to do or anything like that. Certainly not. What I can say is that I do appreciate the biblical teachings, especially in social studies and in science, and then as well as being a separate course. I really do enjoy the biblical teachings with my children, as one-on-one with them. And I have learned a lot by incorporating the biblical teachings from Alpha Omega Publications in with science and social studies. And it's all throughout their curriculum. It doesn't matter what subject you're learning about. Now, I personally, I'm not big on pushing a lot of heavy doctrine on children at a small age. What I believe is that as they begin to mature in their faith, then they can understand more, and they are capacitated to understand more, and they want to learn more, the more that they spend time with Jesus on their own. And so I'm real big about talking to my kids about spending alone time with Jesus, and praying to the Lord for yourself. And of course we pray as a family. Of course I pray with them as their mother, but I'm big on letting them find their relationship with Christ, letting them work out their salvation with fear and trembling. And so as the Word directs all of us to do, I believe it's a very individual experience. I believe that Jesus died on the cross for everyone, but we all have a unique and very individual experience with Jesus. And so that's just my personal take on that aspect of homeschooling. And I'm not going to make this all spiritual and get into Bible principles and things like that here on this channel, but that's just my personal take on that. So Horizons was great for Dulcie. Dulcie excelled in Horizons, but with Anthony, I could tell that he was getting frustrated with the Horizons curriculum. Now let me explain why. Horizons and Life Packs are both from Alpha Omega Publications, and they're both awesome curriculum. But Horizons is a spiral-based learning system. What that means is that a concept is introduced, it is touched on, but it is not completed. So it's not mastered. Then another concept is introduced, it is touched on, you start to go in depth with it, and then you go back and you master the first concept. Okay? And so the way that the Horizons workbook is set up is that your child is going to be learning about 2 or 3, sometimes 4 different things at a time. Now those things may be interrelated, but it is 2, 3, or 4 different concepts, whether it be in mathematics, whether we're talking science, it's 2 or 3 or 4 different concepts within that subject course. And so that did not work for Anthony. Anthony got frustrated, and he is just as smart as Dulcie is, just as intelligent, just as bright. They make very similar grades, but they have different learning styles. God made us all unique. So that is something to keep in mind with Horizons, although it's wonderful. Absolutely, it is a spiral based learning system. And so a lot of people have asked me whenever, when we first started homeschooling, I uploaded videos of those books that we were using. And I still get comments to this day asking about the differences between Horizons and LifePack and which one do I prefer over the other. I have no preference one over the other. They are equally wonderful, but they are different. Okay? And so you have to know your child, and that takes time to get to know your child. Sometimes you're not going to know when they're in first grade or second grade. Sometimes it takes, until they're in third or fourth or maybe even fifth to really see their learning style come out. And children develop, children change, they transition into their own personalities and styles. And so, you may have to evolve your homeschool with how your children are evolving. And you may have to evolve your homeschool based on your personal circumstances. And so that is what has happened with us over the last 7 years, is that my children have changed. Their personalities have really developed. I have changed. I've gone through different life processes, and because of where I was at that particular time in my life, we had to change, And so we did Horizons with math and I believe science, and I don't remember what all subjects. We may have used it for all the subjects. I really don't know. I should have went back and checked. We've had a lot going on this past week, so I wasn't able to go back and check. I planned to do that before I came on, but I didn't want to keep on prolonging and postponing this video because I know that I wanted to do this at the beginning of the school year and talk to y'all about what we're currently using. But so yeah, we switched to LifePack after I realized that Horizons wasn't working for Anthony. I went ahead and switched to LifePack for both of the children just so it would be easier on me. Okay. I could have switched only with Anthony, but I went ahead and switched with both of them to make it easier on me. That way I wasn't looking at two different learning styles and trying to teach, two different ways. And they are close together in age. They're about 1.5 years apart. And so there were times when maybe Anthony was working on a higher grade level than what his age would determine that he would be at, okay? And then there were times when Dulcie was working at a higher grade level than what her age would determine that she would be working at. And now they've leveled off, and they are working at the grade level that their age determines at this time. But back then when they were small, first, second, third grade, sometimes they were a little ahead, and sometimes I could even work with them together. And that was very helpful, especially with science and social studies. When we were doing the workbooks, I didn't buy separate things for them for science and social studies. We combined those subjects and learned as a family. But their math and language arts obviously was separate because of their levels of understanding. So about 2 years ago, I guess, let's see, about 2.5 to 3 years ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago, we pulled away from all the textbooks. We went back to our original way of teaching language arts, which was copying memory verses. When my children were 4, 5, and 6, I would get them to copy memory verses from the scriptures rather than working out of a language arts book. I failed to mention that in the beginning, but um, anyways, I went back to that about 2.5 to 3 years ago, um, and stopped using a language arts curriculum. Okay, and we didn't use math for about 6 months, I guess, um, and we didn't have okay, we did have social studies. Yeah, I remember now. We had a social studies history book. It wasn't a textbook, but it was a reading book that I would read to them. And if I can find it, I will link it in the description box below, because for some reason I can't remember the name of it right this minute, and I know that that's important to some of you. So I will try to find our old history book and link it down below. It was really, really great. I loved it. I really loved it, and I learned a lot with the children. And my mother, my mother actually enjoyed that book. That was something whenever she was still at home, we would go to her house and stay with her, and we would do history right there at her house. And she would enjoy the lessons, and she said she never learned much history in school, and I didn't either. It was boring to me in school. But my mother and I both learned more with my children using that book than what we had ever learned in our whole entire lives, and about history. So the history of the United States. So I'm going to go back and find that book and link it down below. I bought it from christianbook.com, but I'm sure you can get it on Amazon. I'm sure somebody has it on eBay, I'm sure, for a lesser price. So, which it wasn't that expensive in the first place, but anyway, if you can get a discount, a bargain, why not? So then after, let's see, we went back to just doing unschooling for a little while. I got sick a few years ago. It was about 3 years ago I got sick. And so we were doing unschooling except that history book. And let's see, we were doing Bible lessons, but it was just whatever I pulled from the scripture. We didn't have any particular curriculum for Bible. It was just whatever I pulled from scripture, and I incorporated that in their language arts, and that was their language arts, to just copy the memory verse from whatever lesson that I had pulled from the scriptures. And then 2 years ago, we decided, after doing unschooling for about 6 months, or a form of unschooling, we started back doing regular school, but Dulcie was working with workbooks still, and because she wasn't quite old enough for the program that we are currently using, which is Monarch. Monarch, from like the monarch butterfly, but it is from Alpha Omega Publications. Once again, I love, love, love this company. I am not being sponsored to say this, y'all. I'm not being paid. It's just truly from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate this company. I love this company. And I have found that the curriculum has been amazing. And the online program starts at 3rd grade and goes all the way through 12th grade. So the same company, Alpha Omega Publications, also has an online school where it is live school, live training, called Ignite Christian Academy, I believe, and which it's a whole lot more expensive than Monarch, but you get a teacher along with it, okay? Alpha Omega Publications, though, they have Monarch, they have Life Pack, they have Horizons, they have the Weaver program, several different brands of homeschool curriculum, and they're all amazing from what I've heard from other homeschool moms. The only ones that we have actually used has been the Life Pack and the Horizons, and then now we're currently using Monarch, and I have used it for the last 2 years. Like I say, Anthony started 2 years ago, and Dulcie just started last year. And the reason why we started doing it is because I had gotten sick. I was diagnosed with brain disease a few years ago. I'm doing much, much better. Now my focus is much better. Now my concentration is much better. Thank God, right? But during that time when I had first gotten diagnosed, I was having a lot of trouble, which that's why I got diagnosed. That's how I knew that I was having a problem, because I was having all these symptoms of really having a hard time focusing. There were days when I couldn't think straight. There were days when I couldn't talk straight. And I know that a lot of people have that going on for stress or, anxiety, whatever. Thank God that wasn't the case with me, but they did diagnose me with brain disease. And so, but I have no tumors or anything like that. They said that I'm susceptible to tumors, susceptible to nerve damage, susceptible to stroke and things like that. But we believe in Jesus, right? We believe in Jesus, and he covers all, and he protects, and he sends his angels with us. And I believe that his angels are all around me, and I believe in my healing. I believe that he's working on things behind the scenes. So yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of symptoms lately, thank God, but we did start doing online school because of that about 2 years ago. And Monarch has been wonderful. Now, no matter what type of curriculum that you choose, if you go through a brand of curriculum like a Becca or what are the other ones, Ace Paces or Life Pack or Horizons or whatever you choose to use, if you're using textbooks and you're buying one textbook per subject, or you're buying workbooks, a set of workbooks per subject, you're going to spend anywhere from $300, and I'm saying that very loosely because I don't really know that you can get it for that cheap, but around $300, $350 on up. It starts around that price and goes up. The average though is about $500 for a year's worth of those textbooks, workbooks here in the United States. Let me make that clear, here in the United States, because I know we may have people watching from all over, and that's a blessing. But Monarch is about the same price as what you're going to pay for the textbooks, except it's not a textbook. You have access to their website, aop.com, and you get to choose as the parent what your child learns. You get to choose. There are 4 core subjects, and then Bible is an optional core subject. So 5 if you want to include that, which we do. And then they have some electives that you can choose from. And up until this school year, up until 2024-2025 school year, you had to pay extra for those electives. Now it is included in their all-inclusive package, which is all access, I believe is what they call it. So it's Monarch All Access or Full Access, something like that. It usually starts at $439.95 for your first student, for your first child. And then if they have a sibling that you were also enrolling, then you will pay $199.95 for the school year for that second student, I believe is what the price is. Now, I had a discount. You can rack up points now. You can rack up points now by purchasing from them. So if you're a long-time user, then eventually you get a discount. So I had some points, and I got mine for $400.14 for my first child, and then for the second one, the $199.95. You can pay monthly or yearly, and we pay yearly because there's a little bit of a discount if you do that. And the total that I have spent this year for Monarch is $600.09. That is not including the science. There's like a lab kit if you want to buy that. We did not buy the lab kit because I do not require my children to do the projects and experiments and all that. I don't require them to do that. Now, if you require your student to do that, then you might need to purchase that lab kit, or you will have to purchase all of the stuff separate, whatever that they need, whatever materials that they need to complete their projects and experiments. You will have to purchase that separately if you do not purchase the kits that they provide from Monarch. So, which the stuff is, it's usually very inexpensive. I mean, we're talking like baking soda, maybe a measuring cup, and, things like that. You might even have most of it lying around your house. When we first started using Monarch, we did do the projects and the experiments, but now I just let them do it if they want to do it. As long as they tell me ahead of time so I can buy the materials. But I don't want them to feel like they have to do it because sometimes it can become overwhelming. And yeah, so I think the total, if you don't get the discount for 2 children, would be $639.90 per year. So there's the details on that. And like I say, if you're using textbooks or workbooks, you're going to spend, on average, about $400 to $600 per student every single year if you're buying one textbook or one set of workbooks for each core subject. So for, that student. But Monarch is awesome. I invite you to go check it out. I'm going to leave the website down below. If I can find any discount codes or anything like that, I'll leave that down below too to help you guys out. But I want you to know that no matter how you homeschool, they are your children. You have the authority given to you by God as their parent to homeschool them in the way that you see fit in the eyes of the Lord. I don't want you to be discouraged. There's going to be times when you feel like you're not enough when you're homeschooling your children. That's just facts. You're going to feel discouraged. There's going to be times that you feel like what you're doing is insufficient. You're going to ask yourself, is it better to send them to public school? My opinion is no, it's not. Of course, everyone has their own opinion, and you are entitled to your own opinion. Lab kit. Do you teach them lab skills and practical chemistry, physics, and biology? Yes, we, like I say, last year we did do all of the experiments and projects and things like that. So they have had a little bit of experience with that. This year I chose not to make them do it or require them to do it for their grade, but if they want to do it, then it is available to them. And yes, it is very, like I say, very simple materials that are used to teach them the basics of chemistry and physics and biology. So absolutely. And it's there available for them if they want to do it. And probably as they get older, I will require it at some point, whether in 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that, to give them that experience before they choose to go to college or not to go to college, whatever they decide to do. I'm not a parent that will force my children to go to college or anything like that. I know a lot of parents really want them to go to college so they can have a better set of skills, so that they can find a better job, a better paying job. For us, we don't want to push our kids into doing something like that, but if they want to, then absolutely they need to be prepared in order to do that. And so whether or not they choose to go to college, I will require them at some point before they get out of high school to do that. But given my children's age right now, I I am allowing them to do it, but not requiring them to do it. And then I have required them, though, in the past. I have required them. The last 2 years we did. So they have had a little bit of experience in that area. And then as they get older, I would say around 7th and 8th grade, I would require them one more time to do it. And then as they get into high school, I will require it in those last couple years, because it'll be something that is required by the state for them to have those skills in order to get into a college. So yeah. But I want to encourage you as parents, as grandparents, legal guardians, aunts, uncles, whoever you may be, to the student that you were homeschooling. Keep going. Do not get discouraged. Reach out for help when you feel like you're burned out and you can't do it anymore. If you are a man or woman of faith, then reach out to our Creator. Ask Him for help. Step away from the situation for a little while. Get a better understanding of the situation. Get a better understanding of your child's circumstances and what is really going on. Whether it is just burnout, whether it is that you need some help in homeschooling your children. There is no shame in asking for help, okay? As they grow, obviously, we're not going to have all the answers. We're not going to be able to answer all the questions. Maybe, the studies become difficult for us as parents. It's okay to admit that. It's okay. There is help out there. There are tutors that you can hire. Go to, your local high school. Go to your local elementary school, middle school, whatever grade that your child is in, and talk to someone. Talk to, we don't like to involve the government school in our homeschool. That's one point to most of us homeschooling here in the United States. We don't want to get them involved, but if you're struggling to teach your child and you believe that you need help, please call on someone who, has the training to teach children so that you can get the help that you need. There's no shame in doing that. Reach out to your church, reach out to other homeschool groups. We don't really have a lot of that in the area where I live. And so it is more, depend on the school for things because of that, because we don't have the resources here. I live in a very rural area, so we don't have as many resources as what some of your major cities are going to have. But definitely continue on your journey and know that the Lord is with you. Know that, know what your purpose is for homeschooling. Please, every single time that you feel that negative spirit coming and you don't want to homeschool anymore, reevaluate your why. Why do I homeschool? How important is homeschooling to you? Because if the concept of homeschooling is only important to you because you want to be with your children, that may not be enough of a reason to keep them at home and not send them to public or private school. If your why is on a spiritual level, then that may be a big enough reason, to keep them at home and not send them to public school. If it is, a commitment that you've made to the Lord, such as I have made to the Lord, everyone has different reasons for doing this, and I can't judge your journey. And I ask that you respect and don't judge my journey as well, because it is different for everyone. For me, it is very spiritual. For me, it is a decision that I made when I was in labor with my son, and I shared that story, that testimony here on this channel in a separate video, and so I'm not going to go into that. But it is very spiritual for me, and each time that I have felt discouraged to the point that I really wanted to give up and I really wanted to say, okay, I've had enough, they can go to school, I remember my why. I remember what God did for me, and I just know that He is with me and that He is helping me, and He's going to push me to the goal. And so I just want to encourage you today. I know that we as moms can become weary. We can become worn. The kids can become weary sometimes doing homeschool. They get burned out just like we do. And so talk with your children about your why. Talk to them about why you homeschool. It's very important, even from an early age, to talk to them about your why. That way they'll have a better understanding of what mom is doing or what dad is doing, because they know more than what you think. They understand more than what you think. Hey, Tamika, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. With my children in the beginning years, as they were little, they really didn't get it. And every little bit, they would say, well, how come so-and-so goes to school and I don't? Why don't you let me go to school? Why don't you let me go to school? And why don't their parents homeschool them? If this is something spiritual for you, why don't they, feel that way? And I would always explain to them, everyone has their own experiences. Everyone has their own salvation to work out with fear and trembling. I know you don't get it right now, but you will soon understand. And they did. And it was a lot quicker than what I thought that they would. And now I don't get a lot of questions about, why can't we go to public school, or when are you going to let us go to public school, or anything like that. I don't get a lot of questions like that anymore. They're very rare and few and far in between. And when they do ask, they come to me with a different approach now. It's not like when they were little. My little girl, she would get mad. Like, she would really get mad. And she'd say, well, you're just rude. You're just rude. You don't let us do anything fun. And I said, well, if there's something that you want to do in homeschool that would be fun to you, let me know and we'll try to do that. I'm not a very artistic person or anything like that. I do dabble in a little bit of painting and, stuff like that every once in a while. But as far as doing arts and things like that, I wasn't able to provide that for them at times. And I felt bad for that, because my kids are artistic, especially when they were little. They were very artistic. And so I really felt bad when they were little, because I wondered, when they would throw fits or whatever and tell me that I was such a bad mom because I was, not letting them go to public school and things like that. And all their friends were at public school. Everybody from church did it. Why don't we do it? We belong to the same church, so if we serve the same God, they would even say that, y'all. If we serve the same God, then why? And it was hard. It was hard to, explain to them when they were really small that, no, this is something between me and God, No matter how much you gripe and complain about it, you're just not going to go to school. You're not going to go to public school. And that may sound crazy to some of y'all, and that's okay. You can judge me. You can judge me. That's all right. Because I know what my pact is with the Lord, and so it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me anymore. In the beginning it did, and that weighed on me very heavily in the beginning of the homeschool journey. And so that's why this channel exists. That is really why this channel exists. Back when I started this channel, it was all about homeschool, and it was all about seeking encouragement and giving encouragement to moms and dads, whoever that is going through the process of homeschooling their children. And so, that's why I'm still here, although we do other things on this channel now. I always try to leave my email in the description box, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be in a position where everybody's telling you that what you're doing is wrong. And you begin to doubt what you're doing, even though you know that the Lord called you to it, and you know that the Lord will bring you through. There are days when, maybe you're sick, maybe you're going through a process in your life that you think, hey, it would be so much easier to just send the kids to school. Maybe everybody is right, And like I say, we all have our different why. We all have a different why. And so, you know, for you, it may not be as big of a deal. It may be just that you have tried homeschooling for a short time and maybe it didn't work for you. And maybe it is better for you in your house to send them to public school or to send them to private school, charter school, whatever. And that's okay. I'm not judging you. I don't judge you for what you are doing with your kids, because as long as you're taking care of your kids, as long as you are, you know, um, doing what the Lord's telling you to do, who am I to judge? My son has autism. He loves going to school. I've been trying to get him to stay at home for school, but his reaction is, wow. Yeah, I understand that. You know, I don't know what it's like dealing with autism. I know a lot of parents are going through that with their children, and my heart goes out to you. We've had children in the church with autism, and I know that there are different children are at different levels on the spectrum, and I understand that you know, there's different difficulties with different levels on the spectrum, and that doesn't mean that one's struggle is greater than another, because nobody knows what your struggle is like. Nobody can judge your struggle in your particular situation, because only you know, only you've walked in your own shoes. And so my heart does go out to you for that. I do know a lady that used to come to our church, and she actually put her child in school because they told her that she had to be in school. They said that her daughter had to be in school in order to receive her, I don't know what it's called, but I know that it's like medical help for education. And I'm sure you you can tell us what it's called. I'm sorry. But she said that because of that, she had to be in public school. But let me tell you something, Tamika. Public school gave up on that little girl. I know there's supposed to be no child left behind and all this. They gave up on her. And they literally told this lady, you're going to have to take your kid out of school because she's not learning anything. They originally told her she had to be in public school to get that medical help, to get her education. What is it? It's like where their education is modified for them specifically. It's catered to them, but by a doctor's order, I believe. Yeah. They eventually told her to come and get her child because they could not teach her anything. And she texted me one day and she said, I don't know what to do because I feel like this was in another church. It's not in the church where I'm currently attending, but we've been there for about 3 years. So this was in another church. She said, I feel like I can't bring her to church because everybody that doesn't understand autism thinks that I should spank her and get her to act right in the church. And, you know, you are the only one that I trust to take care of her at church whenever I do attend, because I would bring the little girl in the fellowship hall and I would talk to her about Jesus, and I would sing with her and do different things while she's running around doing her, you know, her own thing. And she was nonverbal at that time. Nonverbal. Okay, and when she was about 7 years old, I believe, is when the school sent her home. And I remember that because she's the same age as my son. They were born like 2 weeks apart. So I know that she's the same age as him. So she was about 7 years old when the school sent her home and said that they couldn't do anything with her. She was going to have to be homeschooled. And it wasn't a disciplinary thing or anything like that because she was in the special classes. She was not in a regular classroom. She was in a special class that was specifically for nonverbal autism, and they had, I think, one or two other situations going on in that room besides nonverbal autism. And so they sent her home at 7 years old, and her mom reached out to me and said, she asked me, "Do you still homeschool your kids?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "How do you do that? Because the school is telling me that I have to homeschool. I don't know how to homeschool her, and she's nonverbal, and I don't know how to teach her like ABCs and things. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. And the school is no longer helping me." And so I sent her a link to my videos, like the videos that I did, years ago on this channel. I sent her a link to some of those videos, thinking it probably isn't going to help her. But I'm going to send it anyway. She's requesting it, so I'm going to send it anyway. I want to help her, but I don't know how. I started praying for her. A lot of other people were praying for her. And prayer works. Prayer works. That little girl now talks up a storm. She was nonverbal, completely nonverbal. And now she talks up a storm. She knows her ABCs. She is, her dad is Hispanic, so even though he's no longer in the picture, her mom wanted to teach her both languages if possible, but she obviously, she had kind of set that on the back burner, given that she was nonverbal for most of her life now. But yeah, she's bilingual now, talks up a storm, knows her ABC. She knows how to write. She can even write, sentences and things now. And there is hope. There is hope. Do not give up on your children. And that's for anybody, whether your child has autism, whether they don't, don't give up on your child, ever. I don't care what the doctors have said. I don't care what the teachers have said. I don't care what the experts. Who are the experts anyway? Because you can study a subject all day long and never have knowledge of it. And so yeah, that's my belief, is that you can study a subject all day long, every day, still have no knowledge of it, still have no understanding of it, because everybody's situation is different. Like I said, if you've never walked a day in somebody's shoes, don't judge, because you don't know. Don't ever give up on your kids. Do what the Lord tells you to do with them. Seek His will for their life and for your life as their mother, because there's no other way. There's no other way. I can give you advice. I can talk to you on, how I've done different things or whatever. But there's just no way that anybody, not any other mother, not an educator, not an expert, nobody's going to be able to tell you how to take care of your child. That was the same for my son. He wasn't talking either. He was in therapy for that. He still doesn't know how to tie his shoes, but he's learning. That's okay. Hey, no, I like that you're sharing that, because somebody watching the replay may see that, and they may be able to help you. They may be able to reach out to you and share some experiences. You may be helping them. So that that's what a lot of us are on YouTube for, is sharing experiences and helping each other, because we've been let down. We've been let down by the government. We've been let down by educators. We've been let down. And, not educators. I don't want anybody to take that personal, because I know there's a lot of amazing public school teachers. There's a lot of amazing private school teachers. There are amazing doctors out there. There are amazing, child care experts out there. This is not personal against anybody. I'm not attacking anybody or anybody's intelligence or anything like that. But many of us have been let down. And I believe that if I sent my kids to school, to public school, at the time that they were supposed to go to public school, I think that they would have been let down. I believe that my son was showing signs of being dyslexic when he was around 4 to 6 years old. He literally wrote backwards. I would hold his paper up in the mirror and read it, okay? And so I think that he would have been left behind. I believe that he might have been mistreated for that. Um, but with much prayer, patience, understanding, compassion, we got there. And he's doing great now. I haven't had a problem out of that in, several years now. And by I haven't had a problem out of that, it wasn't a problem with me in the first place. I mean that it hasn't happened in the last few years, is what I'm trying to say. Because for me, as a mother, God gives us grace to meet our children where they are. That's what I believe. And I know not everybody believes that. I'm not preaching over here. I'm just saying, if you believe in God and you trust in Him, and you trust in Him the way that Proverbs tells us to trust in Him, with your whole heart, leaning not on your own understanding, right? He's going to direct your paths. He's not going to let us down. Humans are going to let us down. We're going to let ourselves down. We're going to let our kids down. We're going to make mistakes. A lot of times we have to ask forgiveness to our children and to ourselves. And that's something that I've learned as a parent is I'm not going to be perfect. Not going to do everything the right way. I still don't. My kids are growing. Anthony will be 11 in 2 more days. Dulcie is 10 years old. I haven't always done things the right way. There's been many, 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 many times, whether it be with homeschool or whether it be just life in general. I've been a butt to my kids at times, and I've had to ask forgiveness. I've had to, admit to them I'm human, and I think they respect that. I think that rather than having this holier than thou attitude with our kids and like I'm perfect and I'm the adult and you need to respect and whatever, because a lot of us were raised like that. A lot of us were raised like that. I know my generation, a lot of us were raised like that. Like, you don't question what your mama said. You don't question what she did or whatever. And I'm not talking about talking smack to your mama, because that's a whole nother level. My kids respect me. They know not to talk smack to me. They know not to disrespect me. But they also know that I'm human. They know that I make mistakes. And they know that they can call me out on behavior. They know that they can come and say, hey, it wasn't right what you said. You lost your temper. You need to get it together before you whatever. And they know that I'm going to listen. They know that, we're going to work it out. We're going to work it out because that's what family does. Real family works it out. And raising kids is not easy. And, I don't know how far your son has advanced in his journey with autism, as far as how he's learning now and the improvements that he's made. But it does sound like he's made some improvements. It sounds like he's not where he used to be. And one day you're going to look back to now because you kept trying, because you kept going. You kept loving him anyway. You kept pushing him to his limits. You're going to look back. You're going to look back to now, and you're going to say, that was a struggle. That was a hurdle to get over. But we made it. And we're not where we used to be. 13 years old. That's great. That's great. I have a nephew that was in speech therapy. He was never diagnosed with autism, but he did have learning disabilities and speech disabilities. He was born with cleft palate, and he was in therapy for a while, and now I can understand, a lot of things that he says. A lot of times we still have trouble understanding what he says, but at least he tries. At least he is still willing to talk, and because a lot of kids don't. I say that because a lot of kids don't. A lot of kids, they get disappointed because nobody understands them. They get frustrated, and they can't communicate their desires with people, and people get frustrated. People get upset. People snap. A lot of people snap. A lot of people don't have patience for kids. Even some parents don't have patience for kids, and it's sad. Sad because children are an inheritance, and they're very precious. And I believe that God allows us to keep them for a time, but they're His kids. They're His kids. They're borrowed to us. That's my personal belief. But yeah, I've seen a lot of children with diagnosis of autism, and they've been nonverbal, and one day they do begin to speak, and they are one day able to put their desires into communication at some point. I also have a cousin who I don't believe he was ever diagnosed with autism. He has some other disabilities, and when we were kids, he grunted a lot. He made grunting sounds, moaning sounds, mumbling, but never any clear speech when we were kids. And he learned sign language, and he did sign language with his sisters and with his mom. And now he's about 3 years older than me, I guess. So he's 37, 38, something like that. And he is living in a special needs home. He has been there for many, many years. And I saw him about a year ago or 2 years ago, and he talks now, and it really touched my heart because when we were little, he couldn't talk at all. If he wanted something, he would grunt, and I grew up with him, so yeah, I get emotional talk about it. I grew up with him, and I don't know, I have a special place in my heart for those people, because we're able to express how we feel. We're able to express our desires. We're able to express our needs. But I'm a very empathetic person. I'm very empathetic, God made me with a lot of with a lot of care and a lot of compassion, and I've just got a big heart for people in general. It hurts to be, to see people that struggle with communication, because my thing is, if they're being hurt, if they are physically hurt, if they are mentally frustrated, if they are emotionally hurt, if there is any abuse going on, anything, how are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to know? And I saw him about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he was talking. And at first he didn't know who I was. He was focused on something else. We were in a store, and I just happened to walk in, and I saw him, and I called his name, and he was like, hey, he didn't realize who I was, and he just kept focusing on whatever it was that he was focused on. He was wanting his mom to buy him something, and he still has a childlike mind, and it's still hard for him to shift focus or whatever, but he's able to talk, and that meant so much to me, to be able to see him talking like that, because when we were kids, it was just and nobody could help him. Nobody could, until he learned sign language. And I'm telling you, it's the struggle is real for many parents, and we worked so hard for him to learn. He knows how to read now. Yay! When he was younger, he has speech when he was younger, and now we still don't understand him a little bit. That's the way my nephew is. That's the way my nephew is. With his speech, it's hard even for his mom to understand him sometimes. And yeah, sometimes we have to tell him, slow down, talk to me, and because he'll get really excited, really emotional about something, and he'll be going 90 to nothing, and we have no clue what he said. And yeah, but again, he's never been diagnosed with autism. But there is some communication issues. There's communication issues that stems from his speech development as well as developmental delay. He has developmental delay. And I can say that I have a brother that is special needs as well. My brother is special needs, and as we were growing, my mom always had faith in him. She always had faith in the Lord that he would, grow to be a good and healthy man one day. And there were other kids that grew up, in the same time frame as us, and they had similar struggles to my brother. And I see now how well my brother is doing, and then I see them, and I think, what is the difference? What is the difference? They had the same stuff going on, right? They had the same stuff going on, same problems, same struggles. And I don't want to say same exact struggles because we don't know. We don't know exact, but my mom made the difference. And so, Tamika, you can be the difference for your child. And I know that you're doing that. Just by you sharing your journey like you have, I know that you're doing that for him. I trust and believe that you're doing that for him. My mom she pushed my brother to his limits, and when she saw that it was becoming overwhelming for him, then she would back up, She would back up, and because you don't want to overstimulate. And so, yeah, she would back up and try again another day. And eventually he would get it. Eventually he would succeed. And I've worked in healthcare. I've taken care of lots of special needs, patients of different kinds of needs. I've taken care of some with autism. I've taken care of some. And it's been years ago. I'm no longer doing that. But it's always had a special place in my heart. And I had one of my patients was very much like my brother, had very similar mental capacity as what my brother had. And I remember one day I came home from work, and I went and hugged my mom because some things had happened at work that day that just overwhelmed me, shocked me, because I wasn't expecting it, because I'd always seen my brother and how well he was doing. I didn't expect it, and I went home and I said, this guy has the same situations as my brother, same health issues as my brother, same mental issues as my brother. And my brother's thriving. My brother has a full-time job. He has a family. He's done well in taking care of his kids and being a husband to his wife, and holding down a full-time job. And this guy was about the same age as my brother, and he was living at home. He never was able to get married or anything like that. A lot of issues. And I felt the need that day to just go home and hug my mom and say, thank you. Thank you for taking care of us, because she was mom to 6 kids. It wasn't just two of us, there were 6 kids. And I feel like she did an amazing job with all of us. And she instilled that in us to do great things with our kids. And so that's a part of her legacy that she left here. And I get emotional thinking about it because she's no longer with us. But I really appreciate my mom for that. And I know that when we do things for our kids, when we go above and beyond, we do the extraordinary for our kids, they remember that. They remember that. And I know they feel our love. They feel when we are really doing the best that we can do. And I do want to encourage you to take some time for yourself sometimes and get some help maybe with watching him and being there for him, caregiver if you need to. That way you can step away from your circumstances every once in a while. And when you're stepping away, you're not abandoning him. When you're stepping away, you're just taking a breather. You're taking a break, taking a mental health break for yourself. Very important. It's very important for you to just be able to breathe and then come back and continue because life continues. Life doesn't take breaks, but we can take a breather from our life circumstances from time to time. Something I had to step back to, and he did catch on in his time. Yeah. Exactly. And just keep praying for him. Keep praying for him. I'm going to pray for him too. I'm going to keep him in my prayers, keep you in my prayers. I really didn't know that. I didn't know that you were dealing with that, Tamika. Thank you for sharing that. I know that it's very personal. I know that it's a very personal situation for you. And I know it can be a very vulnerable thing to share. But I know that it can help someone else to have these conversations. So if you were considering homeschooling, anyone, I'm speaking to everyone now. If you are considering homeschooling can be one of the most amazing things that you can do for your children. Homeschooling provides you that safety and security of mind in knowing how your children are being educated and with what they are being educated, with what they are being indoctrinated. Because there's a lot of indoctrination going on in the public schools and even in private and charter schools. And so I encourage you to think about it. Think about it, pray about it, and if homeschooling is the right thing for you, you'll know. You'll know. Don't let anyone judge you for your experiences. Don't let anyone tell you what to do or push you into doing anything that you do not want to do or that you do not feel is right for your children. Even myself, don't allow me to push you into anything. If private schooling is best for your children, then do that. If public schooling is best for your children, then do that. If charter schooling is best, do that. You are their parent, and it is your responsibility to make the decisions in how to raise your child. And so wherever you are in your life's journey, as being a mom, being a dad, being a grandparent, aunt, uncle, legal guardian of your child, I want to encourage you to keep going, stay motivated, have regular conversations with them, keep communication open constantly with them, because as they grow, they'll feel that love and that trust, and they'll be able to come to you when life throws them curveballs. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here. I didn't mean to go on this long, but I wanted to share what we're doing for our homeschool now, and I believe that we're going to stick with this for many years to come. if nothing else changes, if Monarch doesn't switch up on us, then and I don't think they will. It looks like they are making improvements every couple years, and I believe that they're getting even better and better. And so I'm so thankful and so blessed to be a part of the Monarch family. Thank you, Tamika, for being here. Thank you to Jesus for All for being here. Thank you so much for everyone who maybe came in and left, or maybe going to catch the replay. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate each and every one. And I'll be back another day to talk about homeschool. Thank you so much, and God bless. Have a wonderful, amazing rest of your day. Bye bye.